100, which is actually worth 101. So I've now made a profit of 1. With no financial outlay, I've made a profit of 1. If the following week the price goes to 102, I've now made a profit of 2. I have an asset of 2. The derivative is worth 2. The right to buy the asset for 100, when the price is 102, the value there is worth 2. So this means a 1% change in the price has doubled my investment, has doubled my wealth. Whereas if I'd spent 100 million, if I'd spent 100 million, I just would have had a 2% return. But I've now got a 100% return. I've now got a fantastic return because I didn't put any money in. So derivatives are really, really sexy. They're going to give you enormous returns. Mind you, there's an enormous risk involved as well. So why else might we have a derivative? One reason is the hedge or risk management process. What's the other reason for having a derivative? Thank you very much. Speculation. Yeah. Trading. Yeah. Gambling. Yeah. So this is speculation. This is speculation. This is trading. Now this is your default, and this is where we have conditions. If you are speculating, then it has to be at fair value, and you take the fair value through P&L. You're trading with it. If you're involved in a risk management process, it depends on whether you're looking at a fair value hedge or whether you're looking at a cash flow hedge. Derivatives must always be at fair value. If it is a trading derivative, a speculation derivative, it's fair value through P&L. If you're hedging, then it depends on whether it's a fair value hedge or a cash flow hedge. So a cash flow hedge is where the hedged item is a future transaction, where the hedged item is a future transaction, a future cash flow, and therefore we go fair value through OCI. Therefore we go fair value through OCI. We go fair value through OCI, yeah, as there is no instant match, as there is no instant match, as there is no instant offset. So if it is a cash flow hedge, then the hedged item is a future transaction, is a future cash flow, and we're looking to take a cash flow hedge as fair value through OCI, where it can be recycled, because there is no instant match or there is no instant offset in the P&L. If it is a fair value hedge, then the hedged item is a change in fair value that is in the profit and loss account today. And if it's in the profit and loss account today, then you want to take the gain or loss on the derivative in the profit and loss account today. So therefore you would have a fair value through profit and loss. Therefore you would have a fair value through profit and loss, as we have an instant pair, we have an instant offset, we have an instant match in the P&L. Derivatives must be at fair value. Derivatives must be at fair value. Derivatives must be at fair value. If they're speculating, fair value through P&L. But if we'd used fair value through P&L for Spandau, we would not have shown the substance of the hedging arrangement. If it's a cash flow hedge, you're hedging against a future transaction, so you take the gain or loss to OCI, where it will be available for recycling. If it's a fair value hedge, you've got the gain or loss already in the P&L, so you're looking to match. We're about to take a break. I want to tell you about the conditions first. When we come back from the break, we can revisit hedge accounting. When we come back from the break, we can revisit hedge accounting, and we can have a look at it and see if we can work out whether we think something is a fair value hedge or a cash flow hedge. But I would like to, first of all, look at the conditions for hedge accounting. This could be thought of as being very complicated, or this could be thought of as being common sense. I said that we needed to buy some Singapore dollars in 90 days' time. So operationally, we've placed an order, we've bought some goods from Singapore, and we've got to pay Singapore dollars in 90 days' time. We've got to find 50 million Singapore dollars in 90 days' time. Now, if you want to hedge the risk that the price of the Singapore dollar may become more expensive, that the ringgit would fall, the Singapore dollar would rise, if you want to hedge that risk, you need to be very, very sure. You want to have the contract to be in 90 days' time, and you want to have the contract to be for $50 million. In other words, you really know what you're doing. You've identified your risk, and you find out a derivative that exactly matches that risk. So that you don't just get any old derivative, you get a very specific derivative to specifically cover your risk, because you have a policy of not taking chances on the foreign exchange markets. All of this would be documented. You would document that the strategy is to hedge. You would document that we needed a 50 million in 90 days' time. Then you would get the instrument. So the instrument would be designated. The instrument would be called a hedging instrument before it was born. If you have a derivative and you don't know why you've got it, you're speculating. If you've got a $50 million exposure in 90 days' time, don't start buying gold derivatives or doing interest rate swaps. They're not going to be effective. Because if you understand what your risk is, you find a derivative that will be effective, and you designate it, and it's all simply documented. So conditions for using hedge accounting. At inception, there is a formal designation. There is a formal designation and documentation of the entity's risk management objective. Secondly, the derivative is expected to be highly effective So if you are talking about whether or not an item, if you are talking about whether or not a derivative is a hedge, the reality of it is that it should be very clearly marked as a hedge, that it has been entered into to pursue your hedging strategy, and it's expected to be highly effective. So, yeah, you don't start using gold contracts or euro contracts if your exposure is in Singapore dollars from a base of ringgit. It's quite quiet in the room. This has been examined. It has been examined. I mean, I think if you read it and you've never heard anyone talk to you about it, I think it's very, very difficult. I hope when you go back and read it, it will make a little bit more sense, having explained it. We will do one small example when we come back. We will do one small further example when we come back. So it will be a chance for me to recap again and to see another practical example. It's not a large area of the syllabus. It's not regularly examined as a big topic, but you do need to be aware of what a derivative is and how you account for it. But I'm looking at the time. I'm looking at the time at 3:30. We're going to take a short break. When we come back from the break, there'll just be a few more little things to wrap up. We've been very good on the time management. We've been together for 3 days now. I'm not intending on overrunning. We might be able to get away about 5 o'clock tonight. That would suit me. I guess that might suit you as well. So that'll be my budget. But first of all, let's take a break at this stage, please.